Exposed. 10 haunted childhood traumas that cursed lives forever. Real stories revealed. Lisa had thought moving to Maplewood would mean safety. She and her son, Tommy, left behind the chaos of her past, seeking an idyllic life filled with warmth and community. But the quiet facade was merely a mask. Behind fenced yards and manicured lawns, the whispers of her neighbors haunted her, especially the unsettling rumors surrounding Mr. Henderson. The acclaimed community helper, revered by everyone, gave Lisa chills. There was something not right about him. Tommy had been so excited to make new friends, yet Lisa sensed a darkness creeping into her son. The innocent sketches drawn by their neighbor, innocently showcased during a block party, revealed unsettling themes, shadows, eerie faces, and children with frightened eyes. As she examined them closely, the air around her thickened, suffocating her with unease. The memories of her own childhood nightmares echoed in her mind, sending icy dread through her veins. Whispers swirled around her. "Don't stir the pot, Lisa." Whenever she approached her neighbors about her concerns, their smiles never reached their eyes. They'd pat her shoulder, dismiss her worries as paranoia. But each day, the darkness invaded deeper into her home, and Tommy's behavior grew more concerning. He stared longingly at the sketches, mimicking them with his own drawings that twisted her heart with fear. The once peaceful charm of Maplewood began to suffocate her. While strolling hand in hand with Tommy, the laughter of nearby children would become a dissonant backdrop, a reminder that something terrible lurked beneath this perfect surface. A gripping paranoia clutched her heart tighter with each passing moment. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The block party was meant to be a joyous occasion, a celebration of community. Yet, as laughter filled the air, Lisa felt the impending dread swelling around her. It was when Tommy disappeared that the world fractured. Panic surged through her as she called his name, her voice thin above the noise. But the crowd moved undisturbed. Their jovial smiles didn't match the intensity of her fear, and her cries felt swallowed by their malevolence. She rushed through the crowd. A sickness washed over her. Something was wrong. No one seemed to care about her missing son, just the eerie complacency etched into their faces. She stumbled through familiar streets, haunted by memories of her own past she had fought to escape. The images connected missing children, local folklore, and she shuddered at the chilling reality she was uncovering. Panic struck again as she realized the truth looming in the shadows of her once dreamlike surroundings. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting for her deep within Maplewood's secrets, growing stronger by the hour. With each step toward Mr. Henderson's home, she felt the past creeping back, merging with her present. As Lisa uncovered the blood-chilling legacy of Maplewood and its sinister traditions, she felt the walls closing and shadows flitted in her home as night fell, their whispers echoing the terrors she had once thought buried. Just when clarity seemed to emerge from the chaos, a blood-curdling scream sliced through the stillness, paralyzing her with terror. In a town riddled with horrors, who could she trust? The clock was ticking down to a battle against the oppressive darkness that ensnared her heart. Where was Tommy? And what was the true cost of this seemingly perfect place? The scream shattered the air, a sound that wrapped itself around Lisa like icy fingers, squeezing her heart until it felt like it would burst. She stood frozen, her breath catching in her throat, the noise echoing in her mind. It was a cry of sheer, unadulterated fear, one that instinctively made every hair on her body stand on end. Was that Tommy? Panic surged through her once more, driving her feet into a stumbling run toward the source of the scream. The world around her blurred as shadows coiled and twisted, whispering secrets she couldn't grasp. Shouts erupted around her, frantic voices blending into a chaotic symphony of dread. "Tommy!" She cried out again, her voice strangled. Each step felt heavy, weighed down by a growing sense of foreboding. The laughter that had echoed moments before now turned sinister, mocking her desperation. Finally, she burst through a thicket of well-pruned bushes and gasped in horror. There, beneath the flickering glow of streetlights, a small group of children stood. Their faces, pale as ghosts, stared wide-eyed and blank. They were all staring at Mr. Henderson, who stood at the center, an unsettling smile plastered across his face. He appeared unbothered, almost serene, while clutching a sketchbook against his chest. But the wild look in his eyes told Lisa everything she feared. "Look, Miss Lisa," a girl whimpered, pointing towards the book. "He paints the bad stuff." "Bad stuff?" she echoed, confusion swirling within her head. The sketchbook slipped from Mr. Henderson's fingers and landed open on the ground. Lisa knelt, her heart racing as she leaned closer to the drawings spread out before her. They weren't just disturbing. They were alive with insidious detail. The images seemed to pull her in, hands reaching out from the darkness, eyes wide with terror, etched against backgrounds of twisted trees and fog-shrouded streets. It was a mirror reflecting her worst nightmares, the very nightmares that had haunted her childhood. Before she could fully piece it together, Tommy emerged from the shadows, his small form moving unnaturally slow. His hands, steady yet cold, held a new drawing similar to the ones in the sketchbook. Lisa's breath caught as her eyes locked onto the horrifying scene he had illustrated. A representation of their small family, surrounded by dark figures that loomed over them menacingly. "Tommy!" she shouted, horrified yet relieved to see him. She rushed to him, gathering him close. But something was off. His expression was blank, as if he didn't recognize her. Or worse, didn't he care? "I drew it for him, Mommy," he whispered, his words empty of childlike innocence. "He says I should draw what I see." The weight of his words pressed down on her, suffocating. A cold dread sipped down her spine, spiraling into panic. What had he seen? What had he been exposed to in this twisted community? "Tommy, sweetheart, we can't leave," he interrupted, his voice eerily calm. "They'll get us if we do." Her heart pounded. The friendly facade of Maplewood cracked even further, splitting wide to reveal a truth that knocked the breath from her lungs. In a frenzied desperation, Lisa turned back to Mr. Henderson, but he was gone. Just like that, the crowd of children, now only a husk of laughter, evaporated into the chilling night. A sudden sound cut through the darkness, the scraping of claws against wood. It echoed from behind her. What was out there, waiting for her? And why did Tommy appear so different? The darkness thickened, wrapping around her and her son like a shroud. A flicker of hope ignited within her as she tightened her grip on Tommy, but fear flickered brighter. She had to uncover the truth before they lost each other forever, but the clock continued ticking. What would she find when the next chill rolled in? The claws scraped again, closer this time. Lisa's heart raced, pounding in her ears like a war drum. The noise grew more frantic, a cacophony that clawed at her sanity. She turned instinctively, holding Tommy tighter, seeking the warmth of his small body as the shadows crept forward. "Mommy!" His voice was almost a whisper now, breathless and stark against the night. "I drew the truth. We're all part of it. Sure, it's okay, buddy. We'll get out of here," she stammered, trying to sound brave for him, even as doubt gnawed at her insides. The air felt sharper, colder, as a shadow slipped into view, elongated and serpentine. It twisted around trees, moving with an unnatural fluidity. Old instincts kicked in, a primal fear igniting the adrenaline coursing through her veins. She turned, scanning the clearing. What would she do if she saw it? "Stop!" she yelled, her voice rising with desperation. "Leave us alone." But the shadow only grew bolder, expanding, undulating like dark smoke. Its outline began to form into something more defined, more grotesque. It was the shape of a child, the same size as Tommy, but devoid of any warmth or humanity. Its face was a mask of infinite darkness, and its mouth twisted into a cruel grin that seemed to mock her plea. "Lisa," the thing hissed in a voice that echoed Tommy's, but drenched in malice. "Join us. You can't protect him. Chills coursed through her. This world felt wrong. A warped version of innocence. And she knew they had to escape. But the worst part was that she felt a tug inside her. Something dark calling her to stay. Was it the stillness of the air? Or the horrid drawings that haunted her mind? "Mommy! It's not him!" Tommy shouted, the urgency in his voice pulling her back to him. She looked down. Tommy was staring at the shadow, eyes wide, but the determination in his small face pierced through the fear enveloping her. "Yes, fake. Just a trick. Hold on to me, Tommy," she ordered, backing away from the menacing form. She felt the draw of the darkness pull at her, but she refocused on the warmth of her son's body. She took another step and stumbled as if the ground itself wanted to keep her there. That a series of snaps echoed behind them. Lisa's heart dropped again. More voices joined the sound of scraping. The darkness flared, revealing more figures emerging from the treeline, eyes glinting with malice. They were children too, but their faces were grotesque, each one a twisted reflection of the innocence lost. "Join us, Lisa," they taunted together, their laughter mingling with the night, a sickening harmony. "No," Lisa shouted instinctively, pulling Tommy closer to her chest. They were closing in, forming a tight ring of terror. "We're leaving." A pulsating anger surged through her, igniting a spark of defiance. "You think you can take us? You're just shadows. You're afraid." Tommy's grip tightened, and she felt a moment of courage wash over her. The darkness recoiled at her words, the childlike figures hesitating, confusion flickering across their unnatural faces, but the larger shadow remained unfazed. It lunged towards them, more insistent, reaching out with unearthly tendrils. "Run, Tommy, run!" Lisa screamed, and they both pivoted, sprinting toward the road, the facade of Maplewood's tranquility mocking them as they raced away from the horror. As they dashed through the veil of trees, Lisa glanced back, dread curling in her stomach. The figures were dispersing, but something else lurked in the deeper shadows, something she couldn't quite see, something darker than all the rest combined. What if they did escape, only to bring the terror home? The road stretched in front of them, but with every heartbeat, she felt the weight of the darkness behind them. Would they ever be free of it? A voice, distant yet omnipresent, echoed behind them. "You can't run forever, Lisa." The chilling whisper sent shivers down her spine. What awaited them at the end of this path? Would their sanctuary turn into another nightmare? The underbrush cracked beneath their hurried steps, each sharp sound ricocheting off the trees and amplifying the terror that wrapped around them like a suffocating fog. Lisa's pulse quickened, matching the pace of their frantic escape. The thin road ahead twisted under the moonlight, uneven and treacherous, but she pushed Tommy to keep moving, gripping his hand tight. They couldn't look back, she wouldn't let him see how close the darkness was. "Mommy, what are they?" he gasped, breathless and struggling to keep up. "Just shadows, buddy. Just shadows." Her voice wavered, torn between soothing him and the fear battering her heart. The sinister laughter echoed in her mind, taunting her with each step she took. As they broke free from the treeline, an expansive field opened up before them, moonlight washing over the tall grass, creating a false sense of safety. Lisa hesitated for only a heartbeat, aware that the silhouettes from the woods could have followed them, their presence lingering like smoke. She scanned the horizon, praying for something, anything that would serve as their salvation. The chill in the air tightened around them, seemingly alive, wrapping its tendrils around her ankles, trying to drag her back. "Keep running. Don't stop," she urged, her voice sharp, pushing Tommy forward. The kid nodded with terrified understanding, eyes wide, darting from shadows to the night sky. Suddenly, a shriek pierced the air, echoing out like a wail of sorrow. The sound sent a shiver down her spine. It was a child's cry, one filled with despair, and without thinking, Lisa slid to a halt. "Tommy, stay here." "No," she rebuked herself. She couldn't check. Tommy would be safe if she just kept going. But that voice, a familiar sound like a memory clawing at the edges of her mind, compelled her. "Please, let us go." Tommy pulled at her, but she stood rooted to the spot, torn between her instinct to flee and the siren call of the cry. "Mommy, please," he whispered, pulled between his fear of the darkness and his loyalty to her. "Don't let them take you like the others." Her stomach twisted at his words. "The others?" she echoed, mind racing to understands. She thought of everything they'd left behind, pictures hanging on a wall, toys scattered in a room, the laughter that used to fill their home. Then she remembered the rumors she'd heard. Children vanishing, carried away by something sinister drifting through the town, claiming them. "Just keep moving," she snapped, breaking free from her stupor. They darted across the field as the grass swayed like a sea around them, seeming to twist and beckon toward the shadows that lurked behind them. But just as they neared the edge of the field, a brilliant flash lit up the sky, illuminating the outline of something horrific. It was a mass of shapes, all children standing eerily still, their faces pale and eyes hollow, each shadow a ghost of a lost soul. Their laughter twisted into a hideous song, and Lisa's breath caught in her throat. "Turn back, Lisa. They want you." The voice was a chilling mirage, an echo of her own subconscious bleeding through. Each child raised an arm in unison, pointing at her. And then the horrific joy morphed into anger, their mouths opening in an unholy scream that reverberated through her bones. "Mommy, what is happening?" Tommy cried, looking up at her with wide, terrified eyes. "No, no, no, no." She yanked him close, feeling the heat of his little body against hers, the warmth a stark contrast to the cold engulfing her heart. "We can't let them take us." They were near the edge now, the trees standing in a mute guard, sheltering them from the full brunt of those ghostly children. Just beyond, the world felt slightly less tainted. But the darkness behind, that infinite void, writhed and pulsed against her vision. "Run!" She screamed again, the fear gnawing deeper, even as hope flickered weakly in her mind. They sprinted towards the trees, the shadows shrieking behind them. But Lisa didn't dare look back. But was it enough? Just as they reached the tree-line, an icy tendril lashed out and coiled around her ankle, dragging her back into the reach of darkness. "Mommy!" Tommy shrieked, and the sound echoed out like shattering glass. She felt her body begin to twist, her vision blurring as the darkness pulled her down. "Tommy!" But all she could see were those twisted faces, those hungry eyes, creeping forward to consume her. The shouts of her name began to fade, swallowed by the chorus of shadows. What would it take to break their hold? To escape this nightmare once and for all? The world around Lisa shifted. Everything felt heavy, as if the very ground beneath her was trying to swallow her whole. Panic sizzled through her veins. She clawed at the grip around her ankle, fighting against the tightening darkness that threatened to pull her away from Tommy. "Hold on to me," she shouted, her voice a desperate lifeline. Tommy's small hands found hers as he yanked with all his might. But they were locked in a brutal dance with the shadows. The laughter of the lost children twisted into a diabolical chant that competed with the thundering of her own heartbeat. "Mommy, please." Tommy's voice trembled, barely breaking through the cacophony. "Don't let go." She felt the icy fingers tugging harder, pulling at her as if they wanted her to join the spectral children. "Help!" she screamed, a raw plea that vanished into night. It felt like hours passed as the shadows surged, their predatory forms growing nearer, hungry, insatiable. In a moment of sheer will, Lisa hoisted herself up, fighting against the pull, forcing her body forward. The ground beneath her surrendered, but she managed to wrench herself free, stumbling back into the trees, dragging Tommy with her. "Did you see them, Mommy?" he gasped, fear cascading from his wide eyes. "The kids, their faces. Stay close. No more talking." They slipped between the trees, hearts racing, their breaths echoing against the bark. But the oppressive gloom clung to them, vibrating with a sinister energy. The murmur of the forest faded, replaced by a growing whisper, chilling and familiar, closing in around them. "Mommy!" Tommy yanked at her sleeve, his small frame trembling. "What if they come after us? They want tea." She tried to reassure him, but the rising dread clawed at her throat. "Mommy, please." He pointed deeper into the trees, where a faint light flickered like a beckoning star amidst the black. There's something there. Before she could respond, the whisper intensified, weaving through the branches, drawing her attention. "Help us, save us, we're lost." The whisper was a haunting echo, circling them like a storm, bringing to life all the stories whispered during sleepless nights. A sick twist in her stomach made her hesitate. Those voices, the lure was almost irresistible, an ancient call that spoke to her very essence. "Tommy, let us go this way." She turned, pulling him away from the eerie glow, battling the urge to answer the whispers. But each step she took felt heavier, the light behind them growing brighter, flames licking up the dark trunks. A flicker of fear ignited in her chest. No, not again. She gritted her teeth, but the shadows didn't relent. They coiled around her legs as if aware of her intentions, hungry for her surrender. Tommy pulled at her hand again, pleading. "Mommy, they're right there. They need help. Tommy, you have to trust me." She could feel terror wrapping itself around her heart, but she had to keep him safe. She couldn't lose him. But that light, it flickered with an odd comfort, almost family-like, a promise of solace. Just a peek, that's all, she thought, half bargaining, half terrified. The children's faces swam in her mind, twisted with need and despair. As if sensing her doubt, the darkness trembled, and the whispers grew louder, morphing into tortured screams. "Don't you dare," Lisa barked, her voice cracking with fear. "We are not going to give in." Yet, as she turned her back to the radiant light, she felt a pull behind her. Something powerful, something hurting. A desperate urge to step away from the noise, from the burdens of fear. The moment she turned, she felt Tommy's grip falter. "Mommy, help!" His shout felt like a dagger in her heart, slicing through the chaos. For an instant, the world stood still. The laughter, the screams, they all crescendoed into a blinding echo that resonated through her whole body. "Tommy!" she yelled, but the darkness began to deepen, expanding like a looming shadow. They both paused, breaths colliding in the silence, as the light flickered dimly, then vanished. And just like that, they were encased in silence, except for the sound of Tommy's whimpers. When did it become so quiet? As she turned slowly, there was no trace of the children, no laughter, and no warmth, just endless, pitch black, amid the stillness. A deeper truth hung in the air. What if the shadows would never let them go? And the children weren't lost, they were waiting. Lisa felt a chill of realization wash over her. What did it mean to be lost? As she faced the darkness, the grasping tendrils stirred once more behind her. Would she dare to find out the true cost of running? The silence hung like a thick fog, stifling and suffocating. Lisa's heart raced in the quiet, each thud echoing in her ears. Where was Tommy? She turned slowly, scanning the darkness for any sign of him. The realization hit her, he was gone. "Tommy!" The scream ripped from her throat, desperation tearing at her insides. "Tommy!" Panic clawed at her chest as she stumbled forward, the solid earth transforming into a swirling abyss beneath her feet. Just moments ago they had been together. Now, she was alone in this endless night, the whispers creeping back, gnawing at her sanity. "Help us," the voices soothed, an almost honeyed tone. "You can save them. Come find us." Terror wrapped her like a shroud, and she forced herself to take a deep breath. "Think, Lisa, think." She ground her teeth, fighting the urge to listen. A nearby rustle sent icy fingers down her spine, twisting dread with every second. And then she heard it, a faint whimper that broke through the muted shadows. "Mommy!" It was Tommy's voice. Her heart leaped into her throat. "Tommy, I'm coming." She almost stumbled, racing toward the sound. The darkness pressed close, but she pushed forward, fighting against the invisible hands that sought to hold her back. "Tommy!" She felt a shudder pass through the ground, as if the earth itself were reacting to her fear. This place is alive, she realized, panic surging anew. It's alive and it wants him. Just then, a flicker of light danced ahead, the memory of that warm glow, the one that had called to her only moments before. It pulsed, a heartbeat in the dark, and her instinct screamed for her to follow. The light flickered like a distant star, urging her forward. Please let it be him. She stumbled toward the flicker, her hands brushing the cool, rough bark of the trees, but she didn't stop. I'll save you, Tommy. But the whispers intensified, clawing at her mind. They'll never let you go, you're lost now. Her breaths came fast as visions of twisted, sorrowful faces filled her mind, pleading and crying. The wind howled, blowing the faint voices into a whirlwind of despair, swirling around her. Mommy, over here, Tommy called again. His voice sounded closer, coaxing her in. She dashed toward it, ignoring the snaking shadows that rose like fog to encircle her. The world tilting, the shadows seemed to bubble and churn. Just get to him. She broke through a clearing and there stood Tommy, illuminated by that soft, alluring light. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear, but a glimmer of hope shone in his expression. Mommy! Her heart soared, but as she raced towards him, the light flickered violently, dimming, revealing twisted shapes behind him. Pale hands reached for Tommy, cold and hungry, and Lisa felt a scream rip through her. No! Get away from him! She lunged, a fierce protective instinct surging within her. But just as she was about to grab him, the light winked out, plunging the clearing into pitch blackness. Mommy! Tommy's voice trembled in the dark. Images of those lost children filled her mind again, waiting, aching for release, tangled forever in this cloak of shadows. The screams of despair returned, resonating deep in her bones. Then time stopped. Suddenly, she was not just a mother willing to protect her son, but a piece of the darkness, the very thing she feared. Would she have to choose? Would she risk it all to save him? Can I save him? She whispered, the question hanging in the air, taunting her. From somewhere within the darkness, the children began to laugh again. The laughter echoed off the trees, soft and sweet and sinister all at once. Frozen, Lisa felt the grip of despair tightening around her. Would she be able to reach him before the darkness consumed them both? But the shadows began to spin and shift. The moment grew heavy with uncertainty. What if the darkness was where safety lay? The ground trembled beneath her feet once more, and a chilling laughter filled the air. An answer awaited, but would she have the courage to confront what it was? A cold sweat dripped down Lisa's back as panic gripped her heart. Tommy! She called again, the sound swallowed by the darkness around her. It felt like she was being pulled into a deep well, the air thickening, becoming more oppressive with each passing second. Little Tommy's whimper lingered like an echo, desperately pulling at the frayed edges of her sanity. She stood frozen, straining to listen. The whispering voices swirled about her, threading through her thoughts, weaving stories of despair. Join us, Lisa, they roared softly. We can show you the truth, stay away, she shouted, shaking her head violently to dispel the visions that pressed against her mind. She turned in circles, desperate, feeling the shadows creep closer. It was then she realized they weren't just shadows, they were forms, lurking, writhing against the backdrop of night. Mommy, please! The urgency in Tommy's voice cut through her torment like a knife. She bolted forward, driven by that singular plea. She would not let him go. No matter the darkness that surrounded them, she would fight. Yet the ground seemed to twist, clawing at her feet, dragging her back as she ran. Straining against the sorrowful moans, she charged forward. The flickering light was gone now, leaving only a void in its place. But the whimper grew louder. She could hear him, could feel him close. Then a hand shot out from the shadows, grasping at her ankle. She stumbled, almost falling. No! Get off me! The murmur turned into a cacophony of laughter, mocking her efforts. The terror in her chest surged as she kicked the hand away. Feeling a chill seep into her very bones, the darkness thickened around her, creeping. Fear slapped her face like a cold wind, reminding her that she was alone. The oppressive weight of the ominous silence enveloped her as whispers clawed at her ears. You're too late, you won't reach him, it's all your fault, shut up, Lisa screamed, scrambling forward, shoving aside the dread that threatened to swallow her whole. Each step seemed futile against the overwhelming weight of despair descending on her. "Help us! We want to be free!" shrieked the voices, brimming with unearthly longing. But she couldn't listen. "Tommy!" she howled, turning sharply in every direction, searching for the hint of his presence. And then she saw it, a flicker, a glint of white in the dark, just 10 feet away. Was it real, or another deception born from this cursed place? "Tommy, hold on." She lunged toward the light, her heart hammering loudly in her chest. The laughter of the lost children rose higher, echoing through the night, drowning her cries. Just as her fingers brushed against the edge of the flicker, a figure materialized before her. It was small, almost childlike, yet its face twisted in anguish. "You'll join us soon, Lisa," it hissed, as the shadows swirled around it, tightening their grip like a noose. "No, get away from me." She felt the cold fingers wrap around her wrist with an iron-like grip, pulling her in. In that moment, she felt her hope unravel. Her breath caught in her throat. Was she destined to become part of this darkness? Was she destined to join the sorrowful cries, forever echoed in this nightmare? With one last surge of defiance, she yanked her arm free, but the figure spun into the darkness. "Mommy!" came Tommy's plea again. "Hold on, sweetheart. I'm coming," she shouted. But the laughter roared around her, mocking her efforts, making the ground quake beneath her feet. And then she stopped. The words echoed, the truth churning in her mind. What truth? In this darkness, could she truly save him? But behind her, shadows twisted and turned. Their numbers grew, and fear clawed at her heart. The laughter crescendoed as if 1,000 voices joined as one, and then it stopped. An agonizing silence fell once more. What truth lay hidden amongst the shadows? Would she uncover it in time to save Tommy? Or would the darkness consume them both? Lisa stood there, engulfed by the suffocating silence. It pressed against her like an iron shroud, heavy and cold. She could still feel the shadowed forms swirling just out of sight, their lingering presence suffusing the air with a palpable dread. The echoes of laughter had washed away, leaving a chilling emptiness that reverberated in her mind. "Tommy!" she shouted again, her voice trembling, battling the leash of despair that threatened to drag her down. A soft whimper drifted toward her, breaking through the silence. It wrapped around her heart with a vice-like grip. Not far now, she thought. Hope flickered inside her, pulsing alongside the rapid beat of her heart. "Stay with me, buddy," she screamed. Her feet decided to move. She forced herself to take a step forward, the shadows recoiling slightly as if sensing her determination. The darkness responded, swirling with fury. "You'll never reach him," they taunted, their whispering tones like ice water running down her spine. Ignoring them, Lisa stumbled ahead, each step more difficult than the last. The ground rippled beneath her, as if it were alive, eager to pull her down. She focused on the whimper, a lifeline amidst the chaos, a guiding beacon that drew her into the thick of the gloom. "Mommy!" There was desperation in that call, pure and raw, enough to fortify her wavering spirit. She could almost feel his presence, tiny but so full of life, just ahead. Suddenly, something sharp pierced her ankle, sending shockwaves of pain up her leg. She gasped and looked down to see a tangled mass of shadowy fingers encircling her feet, pulling her back. Like an octopus, the dark tendrils wrapped tighter, pulsating with a hungry urgency. "No, get away." Her voice broke as she kicked frantically, feeling the cold creep upward. The shadows laughed again, a wicked, joyous sound that sent shrills racing through her bones. "Join us, Lisa," they chanted, each voice harmonizing into a sinister chorus. Fury washed over her, burning through the chill of fear. "You won, take me." "Not now." She pulled herself free with sheer force of will and sprinted toward Tommy's voice, toward the flickering light that danced at the edge of her vision. And just like that, the laughter ceased. The sudden stillness was suffocating. A new sound pierced the quiet, a soft giggle mixed with crying, echoing all around her. Tommy? Lisa's heart sank. Tommy, where are you? Panic twisted her gut, each echo sounding like deceitful ghosts mocking her effort. Up here. The voice was small, strained, but clear. She raised her head just in time to see a figure standing a few paces away. Shadows twisted around it, blackening the edges, creating forms that darted and hissed, eager to take her away. Mommy! The figure pleaded again. She recognized the voice, but as she sprinted forward, fear clawed at her mind, leaving a bitter taste of dread. What if it was a trick? Another shadow masquerading as her son? She hesitated, teetering at the brink of belief. The figure flickered in and out of focus, its physicality wavering like a mirage. Come to me, Mommy! Lisa lunged, her heart soaring and sinking all at once. The ground fell away beneath her, and she felt the tug of the shadows again, pulling her down. She could almost reach out and grab him, but at that moment, all went still, like a camera freeze framing the horror. Lisa, a voice whispered, not from Tommy, but from behind her. What if we told you the truth is worse? She turned swiftly, fear flooding her senses. The shadows had transformed into a multitude of faces, all twisted, all longing. They were her own childhood fears, the childhood traumas that had haunted her for years. Would she confront them, or would they consume her? What was the truth they held? And more importantly, would it save Tommy? A bone-chilling laugh echoed in the air, sending shivers coursing down her spine. Join us, Lisa, before it's too late. What dark revelation awaited her next? Would the shadows reveal the truth, or would it seal their fate? Lisa's breath quickened as she stood frozen amid the haunting cacophony of distorted laughter and desperate pleas. The faces around her morphed in the shadows, each one a ghastly reflection of her past. Laughter turned to screams, innocence twisted into fear. The gaze of her own childhood fears bore down on her, making her question what was real and what was simply a malevolent trick. Tommy! She shouted again. Her voice cracked, wavering against the overwhelming tide of darkness. Mommy! Came the answer, still distant yet tinged with an undeniable urgency. It was a sound that pulled at her heart, urging her to move but paralyzing her with panic. What do you want from me? She screamed at the shadowy faces that swirled around, their whispers growing louder, a symphony of torment that clawed at her mind. Everything you are. Everything you fear, the voices echoed, weaving together in a macabre dance. Face them and you may save him. A surge of desperation surged through her veins, zapping her into motion. Every instinct screamed to flee from the shadows, but deep down, a flicker of courage ignited. If she were to rescue her child, she had to confront what lay beneath the surface. She steeled herself and took a step toward the writhing mass of darkness. As she advanced, the faces began to change. They morphed into figures from her childhood classmates who mocked her, the shadow of her old home that felt like chains around her heart. Each one grasped at her, burdening her with memories she had long buried. Let go, she yelled, the pain of each memory dragging her back. She could feel the cold grip of the past tighten around her chest, but she pushed forward, fighting with every ounce of strength. The chorus of shadows cackled gleefully. You think you can escape? You've always been trapped. Not anymore, she shouted defiantly. With fierce determination, she clutched her hands into fists, channeling her pain into resolve. Piercing shriek cut through the laughter. Tommy! The call was laced with fear, and Lisa's heart raced like a drum. She dashed towards the only flicker of warmth in the darkness. Mommy! Help me! The again came, an urgent pleading, drawing her like a moth to flame. The shadows recoiled slightly, as if they sensed her threat. Flee, Lisa! You can't save him from what he truly deserves. They hissed, trying to worm doubt into her heart. No, yes, my son. You won. Take him. With each shouted declaration, the shadows sputtered and dimmed like the dying embers of a fire, revealing glimpses of a space ahead illuminated by a glimmer of light. But as she ran, the chill of the memories clawed at her back, more tangible than before, dragging at her feet. She stumbled, feeling a weight growing heavier. With tears blurring her vision, the figure of Tommy glimmered ahead. His small arms were outstretched, and hope surged within her anew. She could almost reach him. "Mommy!" he cried again, his voice trembling. In that moment, something within Lisa shattered: fear, doubt, guilt, all combining into a single point of light. "I will face the truth," she yelled, forcing herself through the last tears. As she surged ahead, the shadows shrieked, unraveling with fury, their forms dissolving like mist in the sunlight. But just as she reached out her hand for Tommy, her fingers brushed against something cold. An icy grip snatched at her wrist with malevolent strength, pulling her back. "Did you really think you could escape?" The voice was a thunderous growl now, reverberating through the very fabric of the universe. Fingers latched tight. Lisa looked back, eyes wide. The faces of her fears were no longer mere whispers. They solidified, taking form, looking back at her with wicked intent. "Face us, Lisa. You can't save him until you confront your past." With her heart pounding in her ears, she realized the truth she had to face wasn't just about return. It was about release. "Tommy, hold on," she screamed desperately, pulling against the weight anchoring her down. The edge of darkness approached like a tidal wave, and she had to make a choice. But, suddenly, everything went dark, and the laughter returned, rolling like thunder, deep and mocking. Would she have the strength to confront her demons, or would they silence her forever? What haunting memories awaited her in the void? The darkness pressed in on Lisa, thick and suffocating. Shadows danced around her, whispering, clawing at her sanity. "Mommy, help me." Tommy's voice pierced through the haze, a lifeline she couldn't let slip away. Summoning every ounce of courage, she pushed through the weight of her fears. "I won't let you take him," she yelled, her voice fierce, echoing against the veil of despair. The whispers faltered momentarily, recoiling as if stung. More determined than ever, she sprinted toward the flicker of light at the edge of the abyss where Tommy had been lost. "Stay with me, Tommy," she shouted, heart pounding in rhythm with the seconds ticking away. Every step was a battle against the icy fingers that threatened to pull her back into the darkness. The laughter morphed into a cacophony of taunts. "You can't escape. You're one of us." But she couldn't afford to listen. Not now. The shadows shifted and tightened around her, their distorted faces looming closer, but Lisa didn't waver. "I am not afraid of you. You don't own me anymore," she declared, and to her surprise, the darkness faltered again. For a moment, the shadows swirled, whispering, wavering as if unsure of their hold on her. "Mommy, it's getting dark." Tommy's voice trembled, filled with pleading urgency. In a blink, her resolve surged like wildfire. "I'm coming," she screamed, leaping forward through the thick haze, chasing the echo of her son's voice. The ghostly laughter silenced, replaced by a tense quiet that hung heavy in the air. As the soft glow grew brighter, she could see him again. Tommy stood just beyond the threshold of darkness, his small frame trembling but alive, eyes wide with fear. "Mommy, I'm scared. I'm right here," Lisa shouted, each word fueled by an instinct to protect. She stretched her arm out, desperately trying to bridge the dividing space. The moment felt infinite, time bending as shadows fought against her resolve, hissing threats that echoed her innermost fears. With a final surge of determination, she broke through the shadows, her fingers clasping around Tommy's. "I've got you," she cried, yanking him toward her, feeling his warmth against her body as she wrapped her arms around him, pulling him close. That instant, the shadows screamed, a raw, tortured wail that shattered the stillness of the night. They recoiled and dissipated into mist, banished by the strength of a mother's love. "We did it, Mommy," Tommy exclaimed, a breathless smile breaking through the previous fear. Yes, we did," Lisa breathed, tears streaming down her face, a mix of joy and relief flooding through her. But a sudden awareness swept over her. The night still held remnants of that darkness, shadows lurking at the periphery. They were not gone. They were simply retreating as they steadied themselves. Lisa held Tommy tightly, the two of them trembling in the cooling night air. We need to keep moving, honey. We can't look back, she urged, glancing at the now dissipating forms behind them. Hand in hand, they ventured away from the remnants of Maplewood. The feel of grass beneath their feet, the whispering wind in their ears, these sensations grounded them, reminded them of life beyond the darkness. They walked carefully, determined not to stumble again. With every step further from that haunted place, the heaviness on Lisa's heart began to lift, replaced by the gentle flicker of hope. They were free, or at least on their way. "What's next, Mommy?" Tommy asked, his voice soft and innocent, lifting her spirits even more. "We find somewhere safe, somewhere filled with light and laughter." "Just you and me," she replied, her voice steadier this time. "We'll take it one day at a time." The warmth of the dawn spilled over them, chasing away the night's remnants as they turned their backs on Maplewood for good. Together, they stepped toward a new horizon, one that held the promise of healing and love. As they walked away, the shadows echoed quietly behind them, a reminder of the past, but a meaningful token of strength now. They moved forward, ready to embrace whatever came next, fueled by a bond that triumphed over darkness. This is their story, but it doesn't end here. It's just the beginning of a journey of courage, light, and resilience. Remember, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help others join this journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending below. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the word. Your support makes this community stronger.